something. We don't duck smoke, we want all of it. So line them up, Trey sharp with the blade, you know we sizing it up. I'm quick to catch the fade, you know Styles making the cut. Cause we coming out clean every time that we showing up.
It's gonna be called The Barbershop.
Yo, what up, folks? Welcome. It's a brand new episode of the Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. We are live on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook page, on Twitch, at Twitter, at Barbershop SPOR2, when we are also streaming live on our Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. I'm your boy, Trey Fraser, and usually you see the homie Maestro Styles here with me, but he had an engagement this evening, so he's not with us tonight, but I got some special guests here in the building. Got these three brothers. They do a podcast, a basketball podcast. It's called the Hardaway Podcast, which you can find on all your streaming platforms and also YouTube. You can follow them on Twitter at the Hardaway Pod. Welcome the homies. I got the homie Savage, I got the homie Sheedy, and I got the homie Tev Shakir right here in the building. Fellas, thank you for joining me, man. This is much appreciated, man. How's everybody doing, man?
We good, man. We good. Just, of course, back to back because we recorded yesterday, but you reached out to us a little bit ago, and of course, we definitely wanted to hop on. So thanks for having us. Yeah,
no doubt. So I guess where I want to start here, because we definitely got NBA Finals to talk about, WNBA, and we'll get to one of my favorite segments of the show, the top 5 list. We'll get to that toward the end of the show here. So I want to start off with just kind of introducing you to our viewers and our listeners. Just let us know how you guys started the podcast. Just a little bit of your backgrounds, where you guys from, and what brought you three together to do this podcast.
For sure. So we all are, of course, part of LBR, Let's Be Real Media. That's what I call like the flagship program of LBR Media. So Let's Be Real was our original podcast. At one point, we all were in the city of Memphis. I'm still in Memphis. Took is in Phoenix, and Sheedy is in Dallas. But at one point, we all were based in Memphis, and we were recording out of a radio studio for the most part. Then eventually we went to the Zoom platform that kind of got elevated from the pandemic. And so we were all recording, us three, Sharky, Trevor, and Skylar. We all were doing a weekly podcast that kind of entail all of sports. Eventually, my schedule got all over the place. I had a child, and that changed things up as far as like the flow of life. And so I wanted to still be a part of Let's Be Real. So I ended up doing my own podcast called I Don't Know Sports Podcast. And that was during the height of like the pandemic. And that lasted for about a year or so, what I was doing basically all sports. So a different perspective of what you will hear from Let's Be Real podcast. And then eventually that kind of segued into me not being able to watch as much of the other sports. And I'm a basketball head. I played basketball in high school. So that's what I know. And I don't have to do too much work to kind of understand the game of basketball. And so I wanted to do a basketball focused podcast, but I didn't want to do it, by myself. And so I reached out to Sheedy, and I reached out to Took, and then we all kind of agreed like, yeah, this would be a pretty dope idea for us to kind of do a basketball podcast with us three. And I remember originally we were trying to figure out a name for the podcast. So we kind of bounced around ideas for most of that day. Yeah. We finally landed on the Hardaway. In the intro of our podcast, I say the 3-man Gel and Weave. So like Gel and Weave is from Project Pat song. Like she got Gel and Weave. And so that's like a Memphis tie-in.
Right.
But eventually we stuck with, of course, the Hardaway. And we've been riding this thing out for 2 years now, going on 3. So it's been a pleasure.
It's a dope name. It's a dope name to the podcast for sure. For sure.
Yeah, man. As I was looking it up, I was like, I hope nobody like this before, like on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and it was there for the taking. So I was like, okay, bet, let's go ahead and stamp this brand right now before somebody else gets it. So it's kind of stuck, and it's been a blessing for real.
No doubt. And shout out to P Shark, because we had P Shark on around this time last year. And, he's been doing some, dope content as well. and he had actually invited me to join. I believe Tev and Sheedy on a AFC. We did an AFC North panel review over the last offseason. And Sheedy, like I told you, like I told you.
Tell me again.
You saw how the division played out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every team in the division over 500, right?
I agree.
Mm-hmm. And you remember what I said? I said, don't be surprised if all 4 of these teams make the playoffs. Only 3 got in, but it was close. It was damn near close.
Yeah, the Bengals were like a quarter away from really more or less
9-8. Yeah, I think they finished 9-8. But if they had the quarterback, they probably slide right in there. So, but yeah,
Trey, be ready. Trey, we bringing it back this summer.
You bringing it back?
We bring it back.
Got to be a staple. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be ready. I'm gonna be ready, no doubt about that. So, all right, so 3 of y'all. So Savage, you said you still in Memphis, right? You still back home, and everybody else is. Tev is in Phoenix, and Sheedy is in Dallas. So you in Dallas. So you in the home of Game 3 tomorrow night, and so
yes, sir.
I guess we could start there with the finals, which obviously the Celtics are up 2-0. Some thoughts from you from what you've seen in the first 2 games so far.
Sorry, I gotta tell my daughter. Okay, they said bye, baby. You got to go. But first of all, let me first say that even though I live in Dallas, you can edit her out later. I am a Miami Heat fan through and through, thorough. And so it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird.
She's trying to make a name for herself, man. It's all good.
She is. But them Mavericks being now 2-0. I didn't expect that. They haven't lost to more than back-to-back games all playoffs. I really expected them to win Game 1. I said that on our podcast. Actually, I said, "Oh no, the Mavs gonna win Game 1." Of course, clearly they folded like a fresh linen out the dryer. Game 1 and Game 2 might as well have been. We talked about it yesterday as well. Game 1, I felt like I talked about Joe Mazzulla really had a great game plan with the Celtics, was spacing them out. The Mavericks, I would say, to the point where but really spacing out in the corners, right? So basketball heads all know like covering the corners is the hardest thing to really do. And then they had a guy kind of floating in the middle. You have Brown and Tatum cutting to the rim as well. Mavericks just weren't prepared for that. D Live hasn't showed up yet. Gafford has some flashes in the second game. And speaking of the second game, the Mavericks looked lethargic. They weren't trying to go for the 50-50 balls, weren't trying to get the rebounds, especially on defense. So that really cost them a game that they actually could have won. And now going back to Dallas has to win the next 2. I'm telling you that right now. I said that on our podcast yesterday. They have to win the next 2. If they lose either one of these games, it's over with, completely over with. But I'm sticking to my Mavs in 6. Drew Holiday has seen the other side of this. And so now I'm calling it for Drew Holiday to get his 4 straight L's in the finals so the Mavericks can win.
So you said Mavericks in 6. So I had Mavs in 7. Savage, Tev, y'all had who to win the finals between these 2?
So originally I had the Mavericks as well. I thought they were, they were just rolling, right? They just had everything going. But it's looking like, we talked about it literally yesterday, about the chemistry that the Celtics displayed. I think that's the key word that nobody really put it together. Like we clown out how Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are yet to win one. But if you think about it, they've been there more times than a lot of, even younger teams, older teams, whatever. So you got that chemistry even from the finals. So when they went against Steph, you still got the Al Horford, the Tatums, the Browns. I don't think Derek White was on that team, but just the culture in itself was still there. And then you still got the downright just culture, right? Like you can tell, like they don't want to lose. It's like in a way they can't lose. And even though Jason Tatum having a terrible game, you went ahead and got Drew Holiday. And I think if you ask me, Drew Holiday is the Finals MVP. For the simple fact of even when they traded Marcus Smart last summer, a lot of Celtics fans were pissed because, oh no, you stabbed us in the heart. You got rid of our heart. What are we going to do? not realizing that, hey, Drew Holiday is, to me, an upgraded version, and he's been there before. You know, speaking of which, like I said, the whole team, in a way, has been there before outside of Porzingis, and he's coming off the bench doing whatever the hell he want to do. So with that being said, I think the Mavericks' depth, you know, is looking kind of iffy. You only got 2 players in the starting lineup that have literally hit 1-3 out of 2 games so far. Like, we did a ranking, and me and Sheedy, we made a point that Kyrie Irving may be the most important player in this series, and he's only hit 1. No, he hadn't hit 8-3 this series. That's disappointing. So do I expect them to win, I guess, in a way, 2-3 in a row against a Celtics team that's actually rolling? Not really. Do I expect the Celtics to play better? Do I expect Jason Tatum to play better? I expect them to have 30, 40 points at least one of these games in Dallas. So with that being said, I did have to change just basically from what I see, even though it don't mean anything. I do have the Celtics in – it's looking like Celtics in 5, to be honest with you.
I ain't giving up on the Mavericks. See, so a little bit of background for me. So I'm born and raised in New York, you know, born in Queens, raised in Brooklyn. So when it comes to anything Boston, I don't rock with anything Boston. So that's why I'm on the Mavs, you know, Mavs and 7 for me. They down 2-0. I mean, we've seen people come back and, you know, win 4 straight, you know, to win a finals or win a series. So I'm definitely not giving up on the Mavericks, and especially now. So I saw Porzingis has got some kind of torn ligament. So now he's
something we can't pronounce.
What's that?
That's something we can't pronounce.
Something we can't pronounce, right? I know folks was making fun of that earlier on the timeline, but he's not going to play. He's not going to play most likely the rest of the series. And when I watched game 1 and watched what he did in terms of the defense, the block shots, the rebounding, the 3-pointers, the Celtics are going to miss that. Like, they're not going to be able to get somebody that's going to cover all those things in his absence. I mean, you're going to have to get, you know, contributions from 3 or 4 different players to make up for what Porzingis brings to the table. And I think that opens the door for Dallas to come in and really start to get their offense going, because the other thing in game 1 too, they kind of stopped Luka from facilitating. I think he had like 1 assist in game 1. And so they really haven't been able to get the offense going. Like Lively and those guys, PJ Washington, Gafford, and those guys, they haven't been able to really, you know, get themselves going because of that. So I think with Porzingis' absence, and I think with a little bit of a game plan switch, I think Dallas comes out. I think they come out hot. I do think they win game 3 at home. Savage, your thoughts on the series?
Yeah, so I had originally Boston in 7, and which is crazy to say, because throughout the entire playoffs on our podcast, we were saying that we don't trust Boston because it's something that's missing, and we weren't quite sure what to call it. It was like it was just a weird feeling. It was not, because they're a great team. They're the best team in the regular season. Had a huge gap between 1 and 2 in the, as far as the standings. But still, when they played, you know, Cleveland, when they played the Pacers, it was just kind of like, I don't believe this. And so I had said, you know, if it's Denver or if it's Minnesota, they go to the finals, they will win. And so with Dallas going, I was like, well, it ain't Denver, it ain't Minnesota. I got to pick Boston. And so the first 2 games, you mentioned Porzingis, like once he got to the mid-range area, nobody was able to defend him because he's just too tall. He rises up, it's an easy shot for him, it's a layup for him, the mid-range shot. But hearing that injury with Porzingis, I don't think he's going to play game 3. I think he might play game 4, depending on how game 3 goes. But if he's not there, much of Dallas's offense was Luka or Kyrie getting to the middle of the defense, throwing a lob to Lively, throwing a lob to Gafford, throwing a lob to whoever's on that post block. And with Porzingis down there, that ain't happening. You know what I'm saying? He's deterring a lot of shots down there. There was a play, I think it was game 2. Oh, no, maybe it was game 1, where he blocked the shot, come down the court, bang a 3. Like that's something you can't guard that. Yeah, we talked about on Peter Hardaway. Like he's literally a better version of Karl Anthony Towns. Like Cat is literally what we saw Porzingis is doing, or what he should be. Is
what Cat should be doing is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah, agreed.
What he should be doing, but he wasn't doing it. And we didn't see Cat do too much in the mid-range area compared to what we're seeing in Porzingis in games 1 and game 2. So him missing, more than likely missing game 3, because I think they're gonna sit him down just to give him a longer time to heal. I think Dallas probably will win game 3, but I said last episode on 3 to Hardaway, it might go 5, man, because I don't think that Dallas is going to be able to sustain, or not sustain, but to contain what Boston is going to be doing so long as KP is there. If KP is not there, then that changes a lot in this series, in my opinion. But I think he's going to be okay by game 4, and I think Boston's probably going to close it out earlier than what I predicted. I say that.
Yeah. I think Kyrie wants to embarrass Boston in Boston. In one of these games, whether it be game 5 or it would be epic in game 7 if it was, 3.
He hasn't won in a while in Boston. I know that.
Right. Like I think Kyrie, and everybody knows the history with Kyrie in Boston, and how all that fell apart. Him telling the fan base, "Hey, I'm here," for a few years, and then he dips out, and then he comes back as a net, and he's waving a sage all around the arena and all around the court and stuff like that. And I imagine, and this is my hope, I hope he goes crazy on the Celtics in Boston one of these games, whether it be game 5 or game 7. I just hope that that's the case. I got a question for y'all, because I put this on Twitter the other day. This was after game 1, and realizing, Boston's 3-point shooting was so good in that game. I'm looking for a Tim Hardaway Jr. appearance at some point in this series, because if Boston's going to keep doing this, from 3-point range, you need something to combat that. You need somebody that's going to be able to come off the bench and give you a nice quick 9-12 points, go maybe 4 for 6 from 3-point range. How y'all feel about that? Sheedy, I'll start with you.
Yeah, Tim Hardaway Jr. First of all, what did he play? Like maybe 4 minutes this entire playoff time.
That's what it seemed like. What happened? What happened? What do you think is going on there? Why is he not getting the minutes that he was getting all throughout the regular season?
I think, and I'm gonna speak about the Timberwolves series first, and I think because of the way that, and Savage just kind of alluded to it as well, the way that Kyrie and Luka can cut into the paint, and then they're lobbing it up to Gaff for the lively. So you have to pay attention to the lob. If you don't pay attention to the lob, a layup to either one of them is butter. Anything inside of the paint is butter for them. But the other part of it too is, I think also, and we talked about this a little bit as well, the emergence of more like Derrick Jones Jr., who is hitting those shots, but is also a better defender than Tim Hardaway Jr. So I feel like he's getting more of the time, clearly, than him. I don't understand why Dante Exum is still 1 in the league, 2 getting playoff minutes in the finals. He hit that staggered 3 the other day, but I'm totally in agreement. When we talk about this, so Tim Hardaway has to do something. If you're going to put Max Keebler, whatever his name is, in there, and they're not getting rebounds anyway, you might as well put it in Tim Hardaway to get some offense, to your point, because Maxi Pad ain't giving you nothing at all. So I would definitely give it more to Tim Hardaway Jr. Dante can go ahead and rest. He can go back to Australia, wherever he's from. Hardy can go be Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, don't matter, Hardy boys. He can go and sit down as well. And like you said, at this point, you're down 2 games. You need to win 4. You need offense. Defense is something too, but I think that Tim Hardaway does need to have a game. What better game to have it than game 3 at home, when you need a role player to come up and support? This is the time for him right now.
Yeah. You make a good point about the defense, because having him along with Kyrie and Luka out there at the same time, that's a defensive problem. I agree with that. But I've seen playoff series in the past where guys like Duncan Robinson with the Heat have been getting minutes, and even though he's not a great defender, they've still been able to scheme him in the offense and to be able to, hide him from being able to be put on the best player on the opposing team. Jason Kidd is going to have to find a way to get him on the floor and not get him exposed to, a lack of defense. He's going to have to find a way to do that. That's what you get paid the big bucks for. So, I guess we all. Well, I'm not giving up on Dallas. I think they got a chance. I know Savage is, on the Celtics, but that Porzingis injury really does, I think, change a lot of things there, in regard to that. So, in y'all's opinion, as far as like who's playing the best basketball in these two games, for Boston, a lot of conversation about best player on the team, who's playing like the best player on the team, who's in the lead for Finals MVP. I would think we would all agree it's Jaylen Brown by a lot. It's not even close, based on just the production, based on the highlights. Jaylen Brown has had some great defensive plays within these two games. Curious, how y'all feel about it. I'll start with you, Tev.
Yeah, so yesterday, and this is no way in hell, God's green earth, am I comparing the two? Am I able to put them into the same sentence? But yesterday, I alluded to the fact that what we're seeing between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum is kind of what we see with Mike and Scotty. Again, I'm not comparing the two, but if you think about what they are doing in this series, again, you just alluded to how Jaylen Brown is not only, playing great defense, again, good defense, but to me, and these guys can attest to it, I've called Jaylen Brown the best player on this team for the last couple of years. If you told me who I want, I'm rolling with Jaylen Brown just simply because he got that extra oomph about it. He got that dog about him. And at the fact that, again, not comparing him with Jordan, but, they both had their issues with the left hand. That's neither here nor there. But at the same time, what we're seeing from Tatum is even though he went 1 for 7, he was still had, 12 assists last game? He was still at 18 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds. So literally he's doing everything else but scoring, kind of like how Scotty did. As long as we get this dub, we good. So I like what I'm seeing is that, and I kind of want to ask y'all about the Porzingis thing too in a minute, but it's like they up 2. So even if Porzingis don't play a game, should it really matter that much? Because like I said, just the way that, Porzingis goes out, Jason Tatum rebounds go up, Jaylen Brown's points may go up. You know what I'm saying? I think what we're seeing from the Celtics, again, chemistry-wise, is good enough for them to continue to win. And, again, if you ask me to who win Finals MVP, it'll still be Jrue Holiday for me right now.
Oh, so that's what you – because I was ignoring that statement from you earlier.
No, I meant what I say. No, these fellas will tell you I done went through hell.
I was ignoring that statement earlier. I was like, okay, maybe he meant to say Jaylen Brown or
Jrue Holiday.
Oh no,
Jrue Holiday is the Jrue Holiday for you is the Finals MVP through these two games for you.
Absolutely, for the simple fact of even though Kyrie ain't hit a 3 yet, I think Jrue Holiday has something to do with it. I think he has something to do with it. Again, it's only one player outside of Luka in the starting lineup that has hit a 3-pointer. I think Jrue Holiday's leadership and defensive abilities accepted that. And on the fact of he had 26 and 11. So the numbers in game 2, the numbers back it up. I think he had 15 and something in game 1. Let me see real quick. 12 and 8. Yeah, 12 and 8. What you're trying to do. So he here. If Iguodala can win Finals MVP,
that's what I'm saying. I see what you're trying to do.
Why can't Jrue Holiday, man? Why can't Jrue Holiday? That's why y'all went and got him, right? Y'all trying to win, right? Let Jrue Holiday take you out there, man.
Oh man, that Iguodala winning Finals MVP really annoyed me.
Me too.
It annoyed the hell out of me.
I'm a bandwagon Warriors fan. Me too.
I'm sorry. It's for Finals MVP is for the stars. I'm sorry. It's for the first or the second best player on the team. I'm sorry. He locked up. Well, he didn't lock LeBron up because LeBron still averaged, right. LeBron still averaged like 30 in that series, if I remember.
Yeah.
So and Luka, Luka's averaging about 32, right? In the series. So I look, the Jrue Holiday thing is nice, and he's definitely been the final piece to them getting this far and potentially winning a chip. But I can't
Luka averaging 6 turnovers too. Again.
Who is?
Luka. 6 turnovers.
Okay.
Now.
I hear you. Man. Jaylen
so you saying Jrue Holiday is guarding him too? Is that what you're trying to get at?
No, it's a combination of things.
Okay.
Jaylen Brown been on him now. Jaylen Brown.
I was just about to say
it's a combination.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown for me. I mean, again, the defense is in the highlights. Offensively, he's getting his offensively. It's Jaylen Brown's to lose for me. The Drew Holiday story's nice, but I can't. I don't want to hear another. Oh, they treating him like he's Iguodala. He's the Luka stopper and all this stuff. Like Luka's still getting his. The difference is Luka hasn't been able to play make for the other guys so far. That's really what it's been about. So that's kind of where we at with it. So I got one more question, and then we'll get to we'll get to women's basketball here. So I've been talking about this for weeks as far as the landscape of the NBA, and we haven't had a dynasty in this will be the 6th consecutive year where a 6 different team wins the finals. That hasn't happened since the 70s. And since 1980, really there's been a lot of dynasties, three-peats, back-to-backs and things like that. In you guys' opinion, and Savage, I'll start with you. Is there a clear-cut dynasty in the works between these two teams? Is there somebody else in the league? Is this the new NBA where 8 teams could legitimately challenge for the championship?
I think the way that the CBA has kind of set it up, they don't want dynasties, at least not intentionally anyway. Because going back to last year, I think most people thought that Denver was the beginning of a dynasty because you got Joker, who's probably the best player in the NBA. You got elite role players around him. And for a second, they were about to get Minnesota up out of there. but it didn't happen, right? And so looking at Boston, looking at these two teams right now, I think Boston is the team that's most equipped to do it because you've got your 2 centerpieces in Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. You've got veteran role players around them, Derek White, Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis. But the problem with the finances is the second apron. So eventually at some point, these teams that are performing very well are going to have to pay these players. And depending on where you are with the second apron, you might be giving up draft capital in order to sustain yourself, because they want everybody to be at a competitive level. And I think that's better for the league, in my opinion. People will say oh, the ratings are down or whatever. Sure. But at the same time, I think it's much more interesting, at least for me as a basketball fan, to see a Boston and Dallas matchup, to see if it's, Denver and Miami again. I like fresh matchups is what I'm saying. I think having fresh matchups makes it less dull to watch. Now, that being said, when it was, Cleveland and Golden State before KD got there, we were all excited about the potential of these two things becoming rivals. And then Kevin Durant came and shut everything down. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
But yeah, man, I can't. Boston is the team that's best equipped to be a dynasty, at least right now. But things can change next year. I'll take this one little freak incident to happen with an ankle, or it might be a thing where they trade the wrong piece somewhere else in order to keep their 2 main guys, and that throws off the dynamic of the team. Can't really say, but I think Boston, at least today, June 11, 2024, is the team best equipped to do it. But I don't think we'll have a repeat champion in a while. I can't foresee that right now. Is what I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with that. With the CBA, the way it's structured, and then it specifically with Boston, Tatum's up for a $300 million contract, so that's gonna mean the Derek Whites and the Drew Holidays and some of the Pritchard and them other guys. You're probably going to lose those guys at some point.
So last year with Bruce Brown in Denver. Bruce Brown is gone from Denver.
Bruce Brown, right. So you're going to lose some of those role players, which, in my opinion, role players make the difference when it comes to championships and how far you get in the playoffs and things like that. Because your stars are always going to be your stars. They're always going to give you what they average. They're always going to give you what they're expected to give you. But losing them role players can be crucial to trying to repeat. And so I would agree with you on that part, Savage. Sheedy, how about you? What's your opinion about the whole dynasty talk?
First of all, I just want to say I agree with the CBA part. That's the first part. Second part, I will say is as long as health is there, you don't have to worry about the Celtics coming back out the East, baby. The Heat will take care of them like we've been doing. So I will state that. But I mean, but doesn't, to the point that I was making, doesn't that make for better basketball? Like seeing all teams be competitive. Like there was a part when was that down to the Final Four. Like none of these teams have won the finals. Since 2008, 9, when the Ray Allen and them have won the finals for those four teams that were left.
Yeah, Boston Big Three. Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say that it's okay to look at someone new, someone fresh that's upcoming. Like we talked about, the young guns coming up, like the Anthony Edwards coming up in the world. Like Minnesota was never talked about in the finals until Anthony Edwards got there. And of course, let's pay respect to KG as well for taking them and carrying them on his back that he did as well.
Yeah.
But let's look for something new. What's new? What's fresh? And these small market teams, not to say that Dallas or Boston are small market teams, but have another opportunity to actually host the finals and bring money to their city and their franchises as well, and open up their eyes to other people. So I look forward to it. And also, people wreck the Eastern Conference Finals because they felt like it was boring. I don't know how you call it boring when 3 of the games were less than 4 points away, realistically.
Thank you. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. So also full disclosure, I am a Knicks fan, and by the way, Sheedy, the Knicks are coming. The Knicks are coming in the next 3-4 years.
I hope y'all don't sign OG. Please don't take. Please
Trey, for the record, bro. I was early on. I said the Knicks. Like, do not sleep on the Knicks early in the season. Like, I think y'all were struggling a little bit early on. I said their record is not indicative of how good they are. And sure enough, y'all ran it as far as y'all could into the wheels.
The injuries really did it to us, man. OG going down, Randall, and then the white boy that we traded for from Detroit, Bogdanovich, got some burn and he got hurt with his foot. Mitch went out, and then Josh Hart was playing like 3 consecutive full games, and he hurt his abdomen. And then Brunson in that game 7 with the fractured hand. Sheedy, I'm glad you said that, because had we won that game 7, we would have been going into Boston like with hospital tape on, Band-Aids, like all kinds of stuff. Like that would have been that. And I hate to say it, but that was setting up for a very quick, painless series, because we wouldn't have had Brunson because of the fractured hand, and we would have had to rely on Josh Hart and DiVincenzo as our backcourt. Like that would have been from a competitive standpoint, that would have been a boring finals. To get Indiana, a healthy, fast team, against Boston, that appeal is more of an exciting appeal as far as the style of play is concerned. I think people look at the whole Boston New York thing that's the matchup. But if you're a fan, why do you care where the team plays at? Like you just, as a fan, you just want to watch some good basketball. And I thought the Pacers and the Celtics gave you that for 4 games. It's just that the Pacers, as I didn't expect it, but the Pacers have no closer on the team. Because if they had a closer, and shout out Becky Hammond, because Becky Hammond earlier in the year was saying the Knicks don't have an A1, and Brunson clearly was our A1. I think the Pacers could have used a Jalen Brunson in that series against Boston. They could have used a closer. So yeah, I don't want to go too deep in the soapbox there. But Tev, your thoughts about dynasties upcoming, in the league, if there's any, or do you think this Boston team can, start to be able to be one if they can, keep it rolling, or if Dallas makes the comeback? Is Dallas in a position to, be on a dynastic run?
So, excuse me, everything that Savage said about the CBA coming from the NBA is 1,000% true. Like, I think they don't want dynasties. But I think, just for me personally, I think they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot. The reason I say that is because the NBA was born off of dynasties, let alone the NBA is literally trying to find out who's going to be that next great marketed player, that next big face of the league, quote unquote, which of course everybody on this pod, me, Savage, Sheedy, agree it'll be faces. But I do like the fact that, growing up, we did have that one player, that one team that everybody hated, whether that was the Bulls, whether that was the Warriors, or, even the Cavs. I say that to say I would like for dynasties to come back, because I do believe in, either you with us or against us, and let's see what you got. And from dynasties, that's where the NBA have been able to find their quote unquote, face of the league in a way. I would like for dynasties to come back. Do I see any dynasties forming? Again, going back to the CBA, I don't think that we can see any dynasties coming back, because you're gonna have to pay Jason Tatum $300 million. So if you keep Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, all the role players are gonna leave, which we're seeing that happen with almost the past NBA champions that we've had. So, like I said, I love for dynasties to come back, but do I expect that with the CBA and all that BS going on? Not really. I think in a year or two, we're going to be talking about how Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown not even on the Celtics anymore.
That's true. I hope to talk about maybe the Knicks winning a championship at some point.
Y'all there. It's not going to take y'all 3-4 years. I don't know if you heard me, but y'all are there. Y'all are my favorite. Y'all think y'all are my favorite East team right now. Y'all can trade Julius Randle for something. And the Heat, I don't know what the hell y'all doing, shit. We talked about that yesterday. But
when I had to talk about it.
But you're right.
Donovan Mitchell's out there. Donovan Mitchell don't want to stay in Cleveland.
Y'all good on guards. Y'all good. Solidify that middle. Try to bring in somebody else that can get their own bucket. Y'all straight.
Well, I was talking more so for the Heat, for Donovan Mitchell. Because I think New York, I think at this point, we've seen what the offense can do, and Donovan just isn't the right fit for the offense right now. So we've kind of gone past that. Here's a name I'm gonna throw out there, and I've touted this on many shows, and I've gotten a mix of opinions about it. I would take KD on the Knicks. I would take Durant on the Knicks with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, it still is going to be his team. He's going to facilitate the offense. He's going to run it. He brings the leadership. You don't have to ask KD to be a leader. KD is just going to be the guy that's going to pull up from wherever. He's still going to give you rebounds. He's still, he's still KD. He's still KD in a certain way. And the other guys on the team, like DiVincenzo, if you had to, and I don't want to compare this Knicks team to the Warriors when KD was on there, but I'm just talking about as far as like fit is concerned. KD, I think, fits the Knicks because Brunson is sort of your Curry in a sense. He's going to run the offense. He's going to bring leadership. DiVincenzo is your Clay in terms of DiVincenzo's going to be the guy that's going to, knock down three-pointers for you, play a little bit of defense. And Josh Hart will be somewhat of your Draymond.
I like this guy.
As far as facilitating, getting rebounds, that kind of a thing. So I think if the price is going to be steep. I know the price for KD is going to be steep. Phoenix is doing some. I don't know what's going on in Phoenix. Tev, you might be close to that situation.
But would it be steep though? Because you have to, of course, throw in Julius Randle in that deal. And I think with Devin Booker being there, I think that's something he'd definitely approve of. But it's like, what else? Especially when, you're going to hear reports probably out something about how KD's disgruntled, KD this, KD that. I mean,
see, I was hoping to keep Randle. That's the thing. I was hoping to keep Randle.
If you can replace
you can't keep Randle and keep all those players you just mentioned. You can't do both.
If you can, of course, KD for Randle and as least as possible, you got a championship team right off the bat.
Because I'm fine with if Mitch got to go, I'm okay with that. Because Mitch has shown to be injury prone. If I got to lose Precious, I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
Out here with me, cool.
I'm good with that.
How many? What y'all looking like with picks?
Oh, we got about we think we got about 8. First rounders.
Come on. Yeah.
8-9 first rounders.
Yeah.
And I know Phoenix is going to ask for the farm. I get that. Is Kevin Durant at this stage of his career worth 5 first rounders? If you base it on the market, because
if Rudy Gobert is
right, Rudy was worth what, 5, and Pascal Siakam was worth 3 first round picks. So, I mean, the market's kind of set, really. KD, if anybody wants him, Phoenix is probably going to ask for multiple picks, maybe multiple players. I know that price is going to be steep.
I'm going to let Savage dive into this one real quick, but I got a rebuttal.
And real quick, that Brunson contract helped. The fact that y'all didn't overpay for him, it helped a lot.
Yeah. Very undervalued contract.
Yeah, I was gonna say OG got to go if you can.
OG got to go.
Shout out my guy C Hen. That's my guy C Hen right there.
What up, C Hen? Yeah, that's on me.
Yeah, you're right, man. I want to keep. I want to keep as much as I can if I could. If I can help it.
Just keep the Nova boys. Keep the Nova crew. And bring KD. I think that's fine. I think that's fine. You can figure it out around them after that.
Yep. Because Hartenstein, I want to re-sign Hartenstein because I think he can stay more healthy than Mitch can. If it came down to it, if they had to part ways with Mitchell Robinson, I'm fine with that. But I would much rather keep Hartenstein in there. And if I got to lose Julius, then Savage, maybe you want to something. Maybe the Nova boys plus KD would be enough.
Why not Mikal Bridges?
Because I think the Nets aren't going to trade a player across the river to its rival and watch that team win a championship because of that. Like, I don't think the Nets are going to do that. Now, if they do, kind of like Phoenix, they're going to be like, yo, I want all your first rounders. I want all your bench. Like, I could see the Nets like really being stingy with the negotiations for that. I don't think that's gonna happen. It's kind of like, in the dynamic of New York, there's 2 of everything. And for the most part, Mets, Yankees never trade with each other. Jets, Giants, I think there was the one trade. I think it was Leonard Williams a few years ago. But other than that, historically, they've never traded with each other. Knicks and the Nets, they've never traded with each other. They're in the same market. So, it's a thing. It's one of those things in New York that you rarely see happen. So, you rarely see that happen. So, shout out to my guy C-Hen, Bridges. Yeah, I do like Bridges. I really do, and I think he would be able to fit the Knicks roster with the rest of the Nova crew. Like, that would be dope to get him, but I just don't see how they could make this happen.
So what you're saying, if Mikal Bridges was on any other team, they have a better chance of trading him to the Knicks?
Yes.
I like that.
Yep. Yeah.
Let's see Zach Edey one more time.
I don't like the Bronny thing. Like, they could have that. That was a little bit of a storyline, like mid-season. Oh, maybe they could trade for LeBron, and no. And you saw how he tried to troll when he came to the Garden that one game wearing the blue and orange Nikes with the Knicks towel over his head in the post game. I was like, y'all just eating this stuff up. Damn well that dude is not coming to the Garden to play unless it's for another team. So let's just kill that noise right this second.
Can I kill your KD noise though?
What's up?
Can I kill your KD noise though? Real quick?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I promise. There's like 28 other teams that would gladly trade for KD, Miami being one. But one team that's not going to fit for KD, to me, is the New York Knicks. And it's not because of who you have, it's who the coach is. I don't believe Tom Thibodeau.
Good point, Sheedy.
You can't play Kevin Durant 40+ minutes and expect him to still be healthy for you all when it's time for it to happen.
Okay.
So that would be my only push. So if you like you said, the offense is running well with Jalen Brunson, because it's a Tom Thibodeau type of offense, so to speak. But if Tom Thibodeau's at the helm, KD can't be on that team. That's the only thing.
So you're on the Tom Thibodeau runs his players into the ground narrative.
Ain't no narrative, it's a fact.
Yeah,
okay.
40 plus minutes for multiple players, even in the playoffs, that's just too much.
Okay,
I mean,
well,
who's Derrick Rose coach when he got injured in the fourth quarter when he should have been playing?
Yes, I hear you. And in Minnesota, it was sort of the same thing. I totally understand that part of it. I will say this, because I think Thibodeau has done a great job with resurrecting the Knicks. Along with him and Randall, that first year they came in together. Bringing Brunson in, Leon Rose has had a lot to do with the success as well. Him and his connection with Leon Rose, so they've kind of worked and really done a great job with, mixing, matching the roster, making some moves. I think maybe the one mishap was bringing Kemba Walker in a few years ago. That didn't work out all that well, but for the most part, all the other moves really like the OG trade. I mean, we went 14-2 in January. That worked out great. Getting Bogdanovich, having another scorer off the bench, that worked, for the time that it did. Getting Burks back on the roster. My only criticism of Tibbs, and I'm just going to pertain it to this postseason, is that when guys started going down, that rotation still was like 6.5, 7 guys. And you had a guy like Shake Milton, who was playing some minutes when he was a Sixer a few years ago. He was getting playoff minutes, and Leon Rose brought him in, and he got no burn. Alec Burke got no burn in the first couple of series until, he really had to put him in the game. That would be my only criticism is that, look, if I'm Leon Rose, I got to sit down with him and be like, look, man, I brought these players here so that these guys can, help you out. We had injuries. At the same time, look, Shake Milton has some history of giving a team legit playoff minutes. Alec Burke, who was here 2 years ago, was getting minutes. He was starting point guard for you at one point. So that's my only criticism with Coach Tibbs, is when the injuries happened and Josh Hart was playing 48 minutes a night for 3 consecutive games. That's where you kind of is like, I like something's not right. Now, I give him the extension. Tibbs is due for an extension, and at this point, I would give him the extension because I believe the fear in that building is that if you let Tibbs walk, that culture, everything that got the Knicks to relevancy from the jump, goes out the window with him. So I'm good with, I'm good with Tibbs for now, but I gotta have a conversation in the offseason with him as far as like, look, guys, you gotta at least play 8 guys. You gotta, when it comes to the playoffs, you gotta at least play 8 guys for me. So, yeah, shout out to Black Velvet in the chat. Shout out to the homie Seahen here. But yeah, I agree. I agree with that. His best year as a coach with the injuries from early in the year, the Randall injury, OG, Mitch. Yeah, I thought that was his best year coaching, given we struggled and then we still got the 50 wins. That could be an indictment on the rest of the Eastern Conference, because the Bucks did have some issues going on, coaching and, players as well. The Sixers with Embiid being out for, a chunk of that year. So, yeah, you could say the rest of the East was down. But to win 50 games with, what Tibbs was working with and losing the second best player on the team, that's pretty remarkable in my opinion. Hey, guys, let's transition over to the women's basketball. And this has been a hot topic for a few days, really a week, going back to last week and everything. I first want to give a shout out to all the ladies that made the U.S. Olympic team for this year's Olympics. You're talking about the OG, Diana Taurasi, Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, who hasn't played in a while. She's still recovering, from what I understand, from a leg injury. So we'll see what happens there. And then Breonna Stewart made the team. Sabrina made the team. You got some new people in there. Jewel Lloyd made the team. That girl from Minnesota, Collier, made the team. So I want to shout out all the women that that made this team, because I don't feel like their names is being put out there. Well, I don't feel like it. Their names aren't being put out there a lot. And obviously the big elephant in the room is Caitlin Clark and her being left off the women's team for the Olympics. So Savage, I'll start with you. Your thoughts about the discourse, whether it was, whether it would have been good business for her to be on the team, whether that would have an effect on quote unquote growing the game, whether it's, the team just wants to put a competitive team out there to go up against Europeans, going up against them other, countries, and it's a more physical sport than, what it is here. Your thoughts on everything?
So there's a lot of layers to this question. Really, the Caitlin Clark topic is like madness right now.
It's crazy. Crazy.
So one, I'm gonna qualify myself. One, I'm a Las Vegas Aces fan. Like I've been a Vegas fan since 2019. So I followed this team back when they had Lambeer as the head coach, back when they had Liz Cambage as their best player at that time before she gets out of there. Two, I am a Caitlin Clark fan. So I've watched her about 2-ish years ago, fell in love with her game. She's a shooter. I was a shooter when I played. So I enjoy people who can shoot the ball. Steph Curry, Reggie Miller, all those players were my favorite players growing up. So I like seeing a player that I wanted to be like, doing well in the league. Do I think she should have made a team? Like, I don't think nothing is given to anybody, for one. If there are better players, which, I mean, look at the roster. Every player is better than Caitlin Clark right now. I have no problem with it. I have no problem with Asia Wilson, with Kelsey Plum, with Jewel Lloyd. These are good players, man. These are elite players in the WNBA right now. I have no problem with them making it over Caitlin Clark. Do I think it would have been good for business? I mean, yeah, you can argue that either way. But at the same time, their job is to win in the Olympics, and you chose the best player. So that's why I don't have a problem with it. I don't even think that she would have gotten any playing time anyway if she made the team. So the whole argument of like, oh, it's good for business, like she's sitting on the bench the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Now she might have gotten in against like a not good team, like if it's like a random team from like Europe or something. But at the same time, like these are the best players in the WNBA right now. They're the ones that's been out there. I have no problem with that. As far as the discourse surrounding Caitlin Clark, I kind of don't understand either side. I mean, I do, but I don't, because on one end, you do have people that are new to the W who think that the world revolves around Caitlin Clark, when in reality it doesn't. I mean, like I said, I'm an Aces fan. They are by far the most popular team, the most marketable team. They're in Las Vegas. They have a superstar player in Asia Wilson. You got a great player beside her in Kelsey Plum. You got Chelsea Gray. You got
a fan base. You got a fan base out there.
Literally, it's grown so fast, man. It's grown within the past, since the bubble. Their fan base has grown tremendously, and they do everything well. The owner of the Raiders does something right with one of these things out there in Vegas. So, but yeah, man, like this is the team that's most marketable. Asia Wilson should be the one that's getting pushed more than anything else. So from the sideline, I'm an Aces and a Caitlin Clark fan, so I'm kind of in the middle. And I'm like, both of y'all sides are crazy. Just watch basketball. Just enjoy the game for what it is. Her time will come at some point to be a great player. Like we talked about on Through the Hardaway. She'll be an all-star at some point. It might not be this year, but it'll be at some point. She's like 4th in assists right now. Her shot is getting better as the season progresses. So you see that the game is kind of slowing down for her. She has to adjust to the physicality of the game, and she will. It'll be a matter of time. But I need everybody to calm down. I need everybody to calm down from the Caitlin Clark debauchery.
I'm glad See Him brought this up. If you want to talk real snubs, because Caitlyn, that's not a snub. That's just she was just left off the team.
Right.
Arike Ogunbowale,
Yes.
you can make a case should be on this team. And I think that, let's just say Chelsea Gray isn't ready by the time, Olympics start and she still hasn't fully healed from the injury, then Arike Ogunbowale should be taking that spot. Hell, you can argue, and I think he said it here, Hemby and Skylar Diggins. Skylar Diggins is another one. I watched her last night or the other night, and I was like, yo, Skylar Diggins can still hoop. Like, you can make a case that she belongs on the USA women's team. You can make a case for her. And maybe quite a few others. NECA's another one that you could legitimately say has gotten, the snub. So there's, to me, at least four players that haven't made the team that I would still put over Caitlin Clark if one of these starting 12 had to, come off the team for whatever reason. Like, those four go in line first before there's even a conversation about Caitlin Clark. Tev, your thoughts about everything with the discourse around Caitlin Clark, the women's team, and pretty much how the league is being covered.
I feel like not only Caitlin Clark, but Angel Reese and Cameron Brink should have been on this team. And the reason why I say those three is because I feel like the Olympics on the women's side of basketball missed a golden opportunity. And what I mean by that is I believe, let's take Anthony Edwards, for example. I told the fellas, hey, y'all, coming into this season, because Anthony Edwards was able to get that Team USA experience to be around greatness for 2-3 months, that's going to help expand his game to ways that, that'll help the NBA. So I say that to say, if Caitlin and Angel Reese and Cameron Brink, who's literally the greatest draft class, promotional-wise, marketing-wise, that the WNBA has ever had, why not continue to carry into that? Why not continue to make that a storyline? As annoying and as crappy as it is, people still gonna watch First Take bum asses talk about Caitlin Clark because it's Caitlin Clark. At the bottom line, the numbers gonna speak for themselves. And at the end of the day, you're gonna have 3 rookies coming into next season in the WNBA with a gold medal. Like, I think regardless, I mean, we can talk about snubs for sure, but I think regardless, you can have the 9 best players on the team and they're going to come back with the gold, just to my understanding. I don't know who compete against the women's basketball team USA, but I think you got gold, period. Why not let your 3 cornerstones of literally your league for the next 7 to 10 years go ahead and get their rookie experience, that Team USA experience? Like I said, imagine Angel Reese coming back into next season with a summer with Asia Wilson, with Cameron Brink with Asia Wilson, the things that they'd be able to learn to carry the game forward. It's just, like I said, it's a missed opportunity. If that's really what we're concerned with, it's not the fact of, oh, Kaylee got left out. No, it's the fact of she is the marketing Michael Jordan of this time, literally right now. If we would have asked any WNBA fan if they know Asia Wilson or Caitlin Clark, no disrespect to Asia, because she's that chick to me.
She's her. She's her. But the kids gonna know Caitlin Clark. And again, now we gotta wait a whole another 4 years to see if these 3 are gonna make Team USA, rather than saying, hey, this can be a nice storyline, because if they win the gold the first time, can they win it a second time? That's the storyline that they missed out on. So I've been asked the WNBA to send me a contract so I can help them with marketing, but they're getting there. They're getting there. But again, that's another topic. Like, I feel like that's a separate thing. Like, the WNBA in a whole, like, in terms of taking advantage of Reese and Caitlin coming into the league. Like, I hear a lot of Bird Magic comparisons, and folks have said that Caitlin and Reese were the Bird and Magic of women's basketball. Like, the league could have really taken advantage of that. And
one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm getting sick of the storyline of them going against each other. Let's get storylines and pictures of them actually playing with each other. Now we got to wait a whole nother 4 years for that too.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you, man. Look, I don't think there's any right or wrong. I understand it from the marketing side of it. I also understand it from the basketball side of it as well. I think the thing for me, and I posed this question on Twitter the other day, does the WNBA benefit off of what happens in the Olympics? Because at the end of the day, the Olympics committee is picking players for the Olympics. You know what I'm saying? Is the ratings struggling? I don't think the ratings are struggling for the Olympics. Could they be better? Sure. I'm sure if you add Caitlin Clark to the roster, I'm sure there'll be an uptick in, ratings. I'm not sure that and somebody said this to me the other day. Well, it could expose other newer viewers to the Olympics, not just the women's basketball game, but to other parts of the Olympics. And I'm like, I don't know, because
I mean, think about this then, though, because the 92 Dream Team, what made that so special is because fans literally got a chance to touch Michael Jordan.
Sure.
Like, be in the same atmosphere. And I think that's huge enough, and that helped grow game.
And I think at that point, Jordan had won the first title already with Chicago at that point, and he was really like starting to enter that prime of his career. And I think the NBA was already in kind of a good place, maybe not a great place, but a good place.
Yeah, post Bird and Magic. Yeah, it was in a good place at that point.
Right, but it was post Bird and Magic, so I think they were already in a good place there. I think the thing for me is these Caitlin Clark fans have shown me that all they really care about is Caitlin Clark and not caring about basketball. So if you're telling me that the Olympics should add her to expose viewers to the Olympics, then I don't think they give a damn about archery and the javelin throw and, some of these other, stuff out there. Like the fans are telling you, her fans are telling you already, if Caitlin ain't on the floor, I'm not watching. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't, I can't put the two, like the WNBA, the Olympics, they're two different entities. I don't think the WNBA is going to benefit from her playing in the Olympics. I think the WNBA is going to benefit from Caitlin Clark playing for the Indiana Fever because she's in the league. That's how they're going to benefit. So, Sheedy, your thoughts on all the discourse here and how you feel about the the U.S. team and everything.
Yeah, I'll first talk about the roster itself. First of all, I think yes, they got it right for the most part. I think there's someone in Dallas that could have been there too, right? That we already discussed.
Yep.
But it's hard to navigate and say, okay, these are the 12, right? That we're going to have. But let's talk about the 12. Of the 12, 6 of them just went to the WNBA finals last year. 6. And of those 6, 4 of them play on the same team until Chelsea may or may not play.
Right.
And Tuke, you talked about this last pod. We talked about chemistry. How great of chemistry do the Aces have? They already got a title together. Now you're going to take those titles overseas and win another one, right? And there should be no other talk after that. Whoever else they got on the roster, in my opinion. And so I will say that. And so the Caitlin Clark, and we're hyping up a person because of what she brings up. We're not going to downplay what she has brought to not just the WNBA, but women's college basketball. And it wasn't just her, right? Is Angel Reese. Juju still out there, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, at USC, still going to hoop next season. And there has to be a conversation that, like, we can do well with or without Caitlin Clark. And the WNBA will be fine without her. They will. The finals actually was great. It was fantastic to watch. And they're going to be okay with or without her. Now, of course, she's bringing in ratings. Of course, she's bringing in the money for everyone. Yes, everyone's eating because of her. She's also getting herself hacked, but it is what it is. But it just is what it is with her. You're not going to stop all the media attention that she's already brought. She's been doing this. Sarah's been telling you, he's been watching for 2 years. She's been doing this for over 2 years. She brought this back to the women's college basketball game as well. So to me, leaving her off was fine. I think the 2028 team that they put together is going to be stupendous.
You might have Paige. Juju might be out by then.
Yeah, you see them like,
yeah.
And
Yeah,
It's a two
and
star.
it's in LA. It's here in the States, in LA too. So
you gotta bring out the star power then. At that time, she will be solidified. By then, she will have that all-star or all-star appearances. She might get into an MVP, talk. I think, Tuka talks about this a lot. About 3 years, she should be in the MVP talk at that time. And so when you're bringing all that together, boom, 2028. What we got right now, A'ja Wilson is the best player in women's basketball today. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I don't care who you want to debate about it. A'ja Wilson is her, to the point that you just made earlier.
Yeah.
So whatever team is constructed around her is going to do well. It's not going to be the team that is constructed around Caitlin Clark that makes Caitlin Clark look good. It's A'ja Wilson takes a backseat sometimes as well. But again, as a collective, if you got 4 aces on the team, last time I checked, that's a full house. Well, almost. And it's going to come on back with the go. That's all I'm going to say right there. That's all I'm going to say right
there. Shout out to whoever that was, GZDR Forever, in coming out the Twitch chat there. I thought a good point in there. Whoever that was mentioned kneeling during the anthem. And so I think that's referring to when they were in the bubble and they were they had all the equality stances and all the civil rights stuff and things like that. That kind of play, I would say that kind of plays a part. It's the like this person said, the perceived anti-American stance versus America's sweetheart. I understand the divide, between the two, and I understand I don't like it, but I understand Caitlin Clark fans saying the league should be grateful for Caitlin Clark. Like, to me, that's crazy, but I understand like where that kind of ideology, comes from with them. So, but yeah, all great points. I don't think either side of it is crazy. I just think that I think we need to be talking about the other females in the game. Caitlin is a part of that and will continue to be a part of the conversation. But I think we also need to be having conversations about, Connecticut going undefeated up until, the other night. Arike Ogunbowale, second leading scorer in the league. A'ja Wilson is still her. You got a girl in Minnesota that's, doing her thing, nobody's, talking about. You got all these players doing so many different things. I mean, Skylar Diggins, I talked about her earlier in the segment. Skylar Diggins still, if there's a player in the league that I'm rooting for just because she doesn't have a championship yet, it's Skylar Diggins. That's the one that I'm rooting for to win. And she's got a nice Seattle squad around her. With NECA being there and Jewel Lloyd being there and some of the other, girls there too. So yeah, man, it's a dope talk. We got to push the women's game a little more, man. I mean, I would say for me, I'm not a new fan. I'm just a casual fan that's just trying to start getting into the game a little bit more, than what I am. Because I go back to 97 when they first started. I started watching them from then. I've just been kind of in and out, throughout the years. Yeah. That's a real problem for me, that the greatest dynasty in the league, the team don't exist. Like that's a big problem.
They got to bring them back, man. They got to bring them back. They got to. They're gonna expand. They got to Houston at some point. They got to.
Yeah. Do you think that hurts the league in some ways? Like, to not have that franchise exist, even though we do talk about the players on that team historically, but
right.
As far as the team not existing no more, like I can't think of a franchise that has won as much as they have and just like go straight defunct, no longer existing. Like that's crazy to me.
It kind of go back to Tu's point about the dynasties. Like the Houston Comets are ingrained in the history of the WNBA. Cynthia Cooper, Thompson, Swoops. Like those players, like that's who I remember growing up, was like those
Mm-hmm.
the big three, the original big three for me was those three players down in Houston. So I think that it does kind of hurt, but I feel like what we're living in right now, because the WNBA is still a young league, right? It happened in the 90s. So I feel like what we're experiencing right now is like the renaissance that the NBA experienced in the 80s, where you have the controversy of, Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and we're getting that social discourse because Lord knows what would have happened on social media if we were in the 80s with Magic and Bird. It could have been so much, commentary about whatever, about Bird, about Magic, about whoever. Not to mention the stuff that was happening on the side with Magic, with other stuff. I feel like we're in that renaissance of the WNBA right now, which is a good thing. I mean, it kind of sucks that we're talking about off the court stuff, but at the same time, we have so many eyes on the game. And I mentioned it last year before this even started. Like the finals last year was amazing. We had the Liberty versus the Aces. Like that was a legitimately good WNBA finals. And so now the game is getting even more popular with these players coming in. Like we mentioned, we got Paige Buchers next year. You're going to have Juju in about 3 years. Like many notable players that have a strong social media presence that people are going to know these players before they even get to the WNBA. Some before they even get to college, man. I saw some, they had a girl that was dunking somewhere. I'm like, what? These girls are evolving.
That's what they need. That's what the league needs. They need somebody to dunk. They need somebody to dunk in this league.
It's going to happen soon. It's going to happen.
I think Maestro talks about this a lot. The lack of highlights in the WNBA over the years kind of contributes as to why the sport hasn't been as big as it potentially could be because of the highlights. Folks like to see people dunk the basketball. Folks like to see players shoot threes, which could be why there's a lot with Caitlin Clark, why people love Caitlin Clark so much. Sabrina was doing that before, Caitlin was, on the rise anyway. So the WNBA has had, lethal 3-point shooters already. But you just so happen to have the greatest college scorer in the game come into your league, and it just takes on a whole new thing. But yeah, you make a great point there. As far as that's concerned. Let's switch over to football, man. NFL. So I'm gonna, based on me following you guys on social media, I'm gonna take a guess at who your teams are. So Savage, you're an Eagles fan, right? Eagles, okay. Sheedy, Cleveland. Is it Cleveland?
Oh, pass. Go to the next person. No, sir.
No, I forgot. I know it's AFC
I don't even
North.
like brownies like that. No, it's the Cowboys, actually. I'm a Cowboys fan.
Cowboys. Okay.
Yeah, even though I'm from Ohio. But for you to guess Cleveland was a good guess, though.
Okay. You was on the panel, I thought.
For who? Oh, no. Sorry, my brother-in-law, he actually is a Cleveland Browns fan. Okay. So it was him. Yeah.
Got you. Got you. And Tev with the not so good looking, smirk on his face. Carolina? Is it Carolina?
Nope. Yep. Nope. I don't know. I don't know, man. I guess.
He don't know. He really don't know. Lord help him.
Possibly.
Maybe. Man. Well, look, I just got a question for each of you in regard to your teams. I'm gonna start with Tev because this seems like this the most entertaining of the three here. What the hell is your ownership doing down in Carolina, man? Like what the hell's going on?
One word, nothing. Disappointing. Pissing us off. Like we ain't been to the playoffs in 6 years.
The 3 words.
Yeah, matter. 3 to Hardaway. Make sure y'all follow us. Like we made the playoffs since David Tepper took over, man, and it's embarrassing. But I think that we are finally on the right track. I honestly think we're on the right track. I just want us to have a coach that's been there longer than a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole Frank Reich thing, like that was a
him,
disaster.
What was that? Broken Rule. It was him, and I think it was somebody else. And now we got Dave Canales.
Rivera. I thought it was Rivera.
Rivera, yeah.
Yeah.
And
it was Riverboat Ron is what they called him. That's what they call him that's what they call him here in DC. But But yeah, that's disappointing, man. What's going on with the Panthers and stuff. Because Bryce Young deserves better than than what he's got. Well, we'll see what happens.
I think he's gonna shock the world. I don't think we're gonna finish last in our division this year. I think we'll win about 7 to 8 games. Like I said, the pieces that we've been able to bring, whether that's the 2 guards that we severely, I'm not gonna even say overpaid for, but we severely paying for. And then we got Deontay Johnson, who's he's just gonna get open. Like we didn't have anybody that can protect Bryce and that can get open for Bryce last season, and we did, and I think an amazing job at helping him out on that end.
Okay. All right. Sheedy. The Cowboys, as usual, are always trying to get headlines and always got something interesting going on in the offseason.
Right, y'all were here
laughing. How do you feel about your Cowboys, this offseason, and what projections? Like, is this team the favorite to win the East, or is that going to be the Eagles again? Like, how you feel?
First, there was someone that spoke right when you were trying to talk, and his team only won 2 games last season, so they can do nothing but go up at this point. And now I will speak about the Cowboys. Duke actually said a great word. We've done nothing over the offseason. I'll be frank with you.
Not a goddamn thing.
Yes, you're right. There's that 2 games again. So
but isn't that the usual offseason, though? Isn't that like the typical Cowboys offseason? Because every year they do this, right? Every year the media does this.
I would expect you want your team to get better, at least.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I guess for me, it's as a fan, it's about knowing your team and knowing your team's tendencies, right?
Yeah.
So look, the Cowboys, I think they're one of the best teams when it comes to drafting talent, right?
Okay.
They're one of the best, right? Free agency,
No.
sure, every once in a while, but I think when it comes to the Cowboys, they in the clearance section at Walmart, waiting for the stock to come down on a player. And once that stock comes down on a player, that's when they go out and grab the guys. Look, my Ravens, they do the same thing. It's the same story every offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the Ravens got to make moves. Guys, the Ravens don't participate in free agency a lot. You got to wait until the market goes down. That's when they strike. The Ravens are great at the draft. And then when it comes to finalizing a roster, if they need somebody, and when it comes to cuts, when it comes to those training camp and preseason cuts, that's when the Ravens make their move. The Cowboys, I feel like it's kind of similar to how they approach the offseason. I just want to throw that out there.
No, you're fine. We didn't do anything. We lost. To me, I think we lost the best part of our team so far. And by us losing the best part, I'm talking about Quinn, our defensive coordinator. Not only have we lost Dan Quinn, we've also lost our center for the second time in the last 5 years. We had to replace a center, which most people don't understand how important that is because he's really the quarterback of the offensive line. And so we have to deal with that again. I think this season, we're just setting up to just pay Dak, which I hope we don't do. Let me go back. This season, we're going to play.
So who's the alternative? Who's the alternative?
It won't be Trey Lance because he's already been. I don't think we're picking up his 5th-year option, and so we don't really have an alternative. To your point, but I think this season, Jerry and company are just willing to pay our mega stars, so to speak. The Micahs, Diggs may get his payday, but for us to strike out on the running back that y'all got, right? To not even offer him anything and to bring Zeke back, that's frustrating. We will not win the division again. I can see us fighting for second or third, but we won't be able to win the division again. We'll be competitive-ish. We'll be better than 2 games, but we will definitely not win the division.
Man, you about as objective as it is, man. I thought you was gonna poke your chest out, say it with your chest, man.
You're a real one. You remember, Trey?
No,
that ain't Sheedy, man. Sheedy is the realest Cowboys fan that I know.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I could be like that sometimes, but when the season start, man, look, my team gonna win every game until it's real obvious that they're not gonna win. So, But Savage, to the Eagles. I know we had somewhat of a discourse online when there was talk about the coach getting fired toward the end of the year and the coordinators and stuff. And I was asking you, like, yo, this is a real thing. Like, the dude was just in the Super Bowl and y'all already talking about firing him. Like, that was wild to me that was actual conversation happening. So how you feeling about this offseason for the Eagles? What's your expectations? Is this team still a Super Bowl contender?
So they better be for coach's sake, because the coaches they brought in, Kellen Moore, he's the play caller. Nick Sirianni's not calling plays next year. And last year, the offense sputtered tremendously towards the back half of the season, along with the defense. Defense was just a shit show last year. And so it's a very weird spot for Sirianni, because one, if the offense performs well this year, it's going to be doing in large part because of Kellen Moore. And if Kellen Moore does well with the Eagles, historically, our OC and our DC gets poached every offseason. It's happened with Shane Steichen, with the Colts. It's happened with Frank Wright, with the Colts. I mean, it happens every offseason. And so if you're Jeffrey Lurie, you want to keep Kellen Moore. And so I'm kind of leery about if Sirianni's going to last through the entire season, depending on how it goes. I think even if we're at like 500 in the middle of like 5-5, I think they will pull the trigger on firing Sirianni and then elevating Kellen Moore as the head coach, because the Eagles organization, we're offensive-minded organization. And if the coach is not calling plays, it's kind of like, what is Sirianni doing aside from just kind of checking in on both sides of the equation? They want an offensive head coach. We haven't had a defensive head coach since Buddy Ryan, and that was like early 90s, if I'm not mistaken. So they want to keep the offense flowing. They want to have that head coach and quarterback tandem. And so for me, I expect them we need to get to the conference championship game at minimum in order for me to say this is a successful season. If we go wild card round lose, or the next round lose, a divisional round, that's not cutting it for what we're paying for. We got two great wide receivers. We got a great tight end. The biggest factor, in my opinion, is going to be at center. We lost Jason Kelce to retirement. That was our guy. She talked about centers. Jason Kelce is a first ballot Hall of Famer, arguably the best center to ever play the game of football. So losing him is going to hurt tremendously.
Yeah.
Granted, we got Cam Jurgens coming over to the middle. He plays center in college, but you ain't Jason Kelce, dog. Jason Kelce can pull like no other out there on the run play. So that's going to be the biggest thing, is how is the offense going to look? From what I'm seeing from training camp with the defense, it looks nice. We have a lot of youth at cornerback, really at defensive back in general, and even on the line as well, because Cox, he retired this season. So I'm okay with the defense. We got Fangio running defense. I ain't worried about that. Offense is where it's going to be a situation for better or worse for us and for Nick Sirianni.
So do you think the Saquon signing was a spite to the Giants?
I honestly don't know. I'm not mad at it, because I want Saquon as my main.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, anytime you could pull somebody from your rival,
but you know what,
it's cool.
It might have been because I know this is fresh in my mind because of Sheedy and D-Jack's podcast. D-Jack left. He got cut by Philly and signed with Washington immediately. And I'll be damned, every time we play Washington, he get 7 catches, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, like clockwork, every time.
Oh, he was a giant killer too. Like the games, like when he was with y'all, some of them games against the Giants, he killed y'all. He killed the Giants.
Yep. So yeah, I don't doubt that they signed Saquon to spite the Giants. I'm just glad that he ain't got to play in MetLife every game, because MetLife is a player killer. You're gonna get injured playing in MetLife at some point.
Turf, right? That's what they be talking about. That turf
monster for real.
That situation.
So just one game in MetLife for Saquon, and we'll be okay. We on grass in Philly.
Okay, all right. There you go. They've been advocating for grass pretty much in all these stadiums, but
one day.
Owners ain't going to allow that.
One day.
They trying to find ways because look, if they're not gonna get money. Like
Yep.
they trying to keep the revenue stream flowing, and if they go to grass, it ain't it's not gonna generate the revenues. Unfortunately, that's how the NFL views stuff. They trying to kill everything. Like NFL is just one of those things. It's king in this country. I mean, they trying to have Christmas games every year now. They trying to shit on the NBA's
They don't
holiday.
snatch it from the NBA, man. The NBA ain't even Christmas no more, man. It's NFL now.
Yeah, like I mean, Christmas is on a Wednesday this year, and they having Christmas games on a Wednesday this
Crazy,
season.
Man. The pandemic,
It's-
man. It's a pandemic fault because they had them Tuesday games during the pandemic when they had to push some games back.
I remember that. Had a Wednesday game. I remember that. Yeah, it's wild. The NFL, I feel like be doing too much. The other so y'all playing in that Brazil game to kick off, right?
Which is crazy because you can't wear green in Brazil.
Right. Ain't that like a gang color or something down there?
Yeah. So you got Green Bay and Philadelphia. Two teams that got green on in their uniforms.
What's the team? You said who, Bay?
Green Bay. Green Bay and
Green
Philadelphia.
Bay.
And they're getting escorted to the game by armored cars, like armored vehicles. Like, what we doing, NFL? Like,
And this the first game of the season?
yeah.
For y'all?
us, yeah.
First game. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Friday game.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah,
Yep.
games on a Friday in Brazil, which is crazy. Yeah, if your players are in danger of of some gang activity, then bring the players back home. Let play the game in the U.S. and stop trying to market. Well, you can market the game other places, but like
Do your research first.
Yeah, right. Like,
And you know what that means? Ain't none of us in the top having these conversations. Because I'm pretty sure one of us could have told y'all that y'all can't go and pick the greenest teams in the freaking league and promote them in a country where you can't even wear green.
I'm sure Jay-Z could have, did a little bit of research. I'm sure they could have consulted him since he's on the halftime show committee. And, I think he's done a good job with getting the talent for the halftime shows. That's about it. That's as far as like the social issue stuff, which is a smokescreen in my book. That's the only thing Jay has done correctly as far as the halftime show is concerned. He says the Brazil flag. Yes, I believe the Brazil flag has green and some yellow in it.
Yeah, and some blue too, but yeah, and the Jamaican flag. It got some green in it for sure. Jamaican flag.
Yeah, well, I know Jamaica's black, yellow, and green. That I do know. And you don't want to mess around in Jamaica either, as far as gang activity. But yeah, the NFL, bring them players home. If you gotta escort them in armored vehicles, that's crazy. And you gotta escort them back to the airport in armored vehicles too. Yes, that's gonna be wild stuff. Hey, let's get to the favorite segment of the show. We always ask our guests, to give us their top 5 list. So for this week, I thought it'd be special and shout out to the Bad Boys 4 movie, which made millions of dollars as expected. Shout out to Martin Lawrence, Will Smith. They got one again.
Reggie.
Reggie. Yeah, I saw the scene. I saw the scene. It was like a 2-minute clip. I gotta finish watching 3 because for a while part 3 was a bit underwhelming, and I was like, I don't know if I really want to finish it, but I gotta finish it if I'm gonna go see part 4. So there's that. So in tradition of movies and stuff, and this be you guys doing a basketball podcast, and it's the NBA finals, and we're talking women's basketball. I want y'all to give me your top 5 basketball movies all time. And this is a thing where sometimes we do these top 5 lists, and I get a text, I get a phone call sometimes, and like my cousin called me one day and was like, yo, who the nigga you had on your show with that top 5, that whack ass top 5 list? Like, I be getting these calls. I be getting all kinds of like crazy reactions to the stuff. So I'm gonna start with Tev. I'm gonna start with Tev on this one. So first, it's a 2-part question for you. Let everybody know where they can find you at on Twitter or social media, and then give me your top five basketball movies.
And are we ranking
time.
them from like the best to worst, or just like 5?
Your best 5. You don't have to
That's
rank
fine.
it. Yep.
All right. Appreciate it, bro. At Tev Shakir, TEVSHAKIR is where you can find me on everything. But what's that, Threads? Because why do you have a Threads? So again, make sure y'all hit me up. It's been fun. But my 5. So my number one period basketball movie is Like Mike. Number 2,
Like Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Your number 1.
These fellas will tell you, I mean it. Number 2 is the rest of them not ranked, but the rest of them not ranked. Number 2 is Glory Road. Number 3, Semi-Pro. Number 4, Coach Carter. And I feel like any basketball movie list is unfair. Unfortunately, again, I say unfortunately, if you don't have Space Jam on there. Space Jam is overrated.
Interesting. So, Like Mike is your 1. Glory Road, Space Jam,
Coach Carter and Semi-Pro.
Coach Carter and Semi-Pro. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's a Semi-Pro was good. Like Mike being your number 1, that's wild.
Yeah, he dead serious.
That's wild.
He dead serious, man.
You know, because I don't think you understand first the impact that Bow Wow had on my generation, right? Bow Wow was that NIGGA. I don't know if we can say it on this file, so I'm not gonna.
Oh, you could. It's.
Oh, Bow Wow, that nigga. Like, come on now, Bow Wow's that nigga.
Yeah.
So and then you're gonna incorporate the basketball into like Bow Wow. Like, that's perfect. It's a perfect movie. Meanwhile, you got Space Jam out here and Bugs Bunny, your marquee star, ain't even put a bucket up. Like, it don't make sense. Michael Jordan acting ass. We can't even play R. Kelly movies. Like, come on, bro. I mean, not R. Kelly movies, R. Kelly songs. So it's like, what are we doing here?
I was gonna say, what R. Kelly movies? Unless you're talking about the tape.
No. I mean, R. Kelly. I mean, you can't play that either. No, I mean the R. Kelly songs. Y'all know what I mean, man. So it's like, really, what we doing with Space Jam? But I feel like anybody wanted to respect my list is Space Jam went on there. So of course we got to go down there. I wasn't trying to be provocative, bro. I just like laughing, man. Y'all see, I like to have a good time.
That's you caught me off guard with that one, Tev. That's wild. That's wild.
These gentlemen will tell you I'm not trolling.
He's not.
Wow. Yeah, you definitely a generation. I don't want to say a full generation below me. I'm 41 years old, so I'm sure you're not that. I'm sure you're not that younger than me. That's crazy. No. That's crazy. Savage, man. Let everybody know where they could, find you at on social media and all that stuff, and then hit us with your top 5 basketball movies.
So you can follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram at msavage901. msavage901. My favorite basketball movie is Coach Carter, because Coach Carter reminded me of like when I played, just that time period, baggy shorts, headbands, and just the culture of the team, having a coach that was hard on you. That's what I had. So Coach Carter definitely just is my favorite basketball movie. In no particular order. So Coach Carter, White Man Can't Jump. He Got Game with Denzel. Love and Basketball. Getting a lot of hate in recent years, but I mean, I grew up watching Love and Basketball, and I mean that's just a movie. And I do have Space Jam too from my childhood. Space Jam, you got to put it on top 5, man. Got to put Space Jam in top 5.
Yep. Yeah, not a bad list. A legendary Love and Basketball, very legendary movie right there. Very. You got a couple of what that was Spike. Spike Lee did that one too, right? Love and Basketball.
No. He did. Oh, he did. What did he do? Did he do White Man Can't Jump?
He did. He got game.
He got game.
Yeah.
He did. He got game. But for some reason, I thought that was a Spike Lee joint, Love and Basketball.
I don't think so.
I thought it was. Somebody double check that. Somebody in the chat.
It was produced by Spike Lee, but directed by.
It was produced. Okay. I knew Spike had something to do with that movie, so I knew he had something to do with it. I was like, I know I'm not crazy.
New York, man, you know it, man. You know it.
Yeah, no doubt. Sheedy, Top 5 basketball movies, and well, first, let everybody know where they can find you at on social media.
Yeah, no problem. It's really Sheedy, really basic. I never thought I'd have a Twitter, and here I am with the Twix nowadays. And so I'll just give out a random number one because I feel like everyone thinks that 2 gave out a random number one that really wasn't a random number one. I'm gonna go Air Bud. Yes, I'm gonna go.
See, not being funny now. See, now
you're
being funny now. You're trying to one up Tev.
Never.
You trying to one up.
Anybody watch Tev?
You trying to one up Tev, man.
Trey, let me help because we've been doing this pod for 2.5 years. We ain't never heard everybody come out of your mouth.
Tev, he's trying to one up you, bro.
No, he's thinking about the buds he's trying to put in the air.
I ain't seen Air Bud.
You never got some Air Bud out.
A golden retriever. Black folks don't even own a golden retriever. Find me a black person with a golden retriever. Find me one. I ain't never seen one.
No, he gonna put some bud in the air after this. That's what he's talking about.
There you go.
That's true.
You wild for that. You wild for that.
But anyway,
okay, go ahead.
But the real 5, right? The real 5. That was a joke. A joke. Yes.
I'm happy we knew. I'm happy we know our brother.
Yes.
Thank you. What up, P Sharp? What up?
Yeah.
What's up, Cap?
Yes. Loving basketball. He got game. White Man Can't Jump. Coach Carter. But another one that I really loved to watch was Finding Forrester. Was a great basketball movie. A lot of people don't really talk about that movie enough, but Finding Forrester is one of my, not just a basketball movie, one of my better movies to watch as well.
Mm-hmm.
But no Air Bud. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. That's crazy. Yeah, some good lists, man. Some questionable positioning with certain movies, but nonetheless, some good lists. Some good stuff. Some good stuff. I would, for me, my top 5 changes, from time to time. But if I had a one, for me, it's Above the Rim would be my number 1, and my 2 would be Coach Carter, because you learn a lot of like valuable things out of that movie, just period, like life lessons. Whether it had to do with basketball, whether it had to do with life, period. Like you just learned a whole lot of things, coming out of that movie. Everybody's right. Space Jam, it has to be in your top 5 somewhere, no matter where you rank it. That for me is, paramount. Space Jam for me. Blue Chips was a pretty good movie. Shaq was in it. Few other guys. That was a really good movie back in the day. And for me, as y'all might find this one funny, for me as a Knicks fan, Eddie.
No, I knew you was about to go there with that one.
Eddie was funny. Eddie was funny. Eddie was funny, and it revolved around the Knicks. So. I'll throw that movie in there, but I think if there was honorable mention, and sometimes I like to label honorable mentions as stuff that doesn't get talked about much, but nobody talks about Sunset Park as like one of them like basketball movies. For folks that don't know,
one of your generation movies.
It is.
My generation know about that one.
Yeah, Sunset Park. Yeah, if you ever like. On your Fire Stick or whatever, search Sunset Park. But if you grew up in the city like I did, back then, you could kind of relate to it. It was based out of Brooklyn. Sunset Park is a neighborhood in Brooklyn, so it was based out of there. But you had Frejo from Onyx on there. You had what's the dude name? It's the dude that was in Coach Carter. It seemed like he's always in all the basketball movies. The bald-headed guy that was in Coach Carter.
Worm. We winners now. This what you want, winners?
Yep. Him. He was.
I'm saying it now. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
He
was a real hooper, right? He was a real hooper.
Was he?
I think he played ball for real, if not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know. He's always in those like. It seemed like he always in some kind of varsity, basketball sport kind of movie. It always seems like he's in
Was that
those
Terrence
types
Howard?
of movies. Yes, it was. It was.
Oh wow, that's
It was.
crazy. Okay, you got me.
Yeah.
You got me.
Oh yeah, good.
All right.
Yeah, good movie. Good movie,
right.
man. Very underrated that nobody talks about quite a lot. When it comes to like basketball movies and stuff like that. I'm glad nobody said Rebound, the Martin Lawrence movie. I'm glad nobody said that.
I seen that one time, and one time I was in the.
Yeah, he could have kept that.
Yeah, right. I mean, if there was a low moment for movies for Martin, that might have been one of them right there. But yeah, man, it's all good lists, man. And folks, the listeners, the viewers, y'all have their Twitter handles. So if y'all got a problem with their lists, y'all could go holler at them and not call me or text me 12 o'clock at night about this. So y'all go holler at the homies for that. Fellas, this was fun, man. Happy to have you guys come on. This was a dope show. One last thing, to whoever, let everybody know what you guys got coming up with the Hardaway podcast and some of the other things that you got going on with Let's Be Real Media and things like that.
I can speak for 3 to Hardaway, and I guess I'll let Took speak for LBR. So 3 to Hardaway, we're gonna wrap up the season, NBA Finals. Probably take a break at some point because I've been working these dudes for way too long. Every Monday, 7 o'clock. And from there, I know we want to add some guests to our show because we've been 3-man weaving for most of our time. And Sheedy, who shout out to Sheedy, of course, beating cancer. We had some subs in during his time out. So we had somebody coming in from the outside. So we want to add some guests to the show after the NBA Finals. So be on the lookout for some guest spots, and you might want to check your DMs if you got a podcast, man. We're looking to link up. So that's what's next for us for 3 to Hardaway.
For sure, and we're gonna definitely continue. I know it's a different listening experience on Spotify, and I'm making my goal to just try to find like local artists to plug in within our podcast. So any local artists, independent artists that's listening, please shoot me a DM. We'd definitely love to have your track on the podcast, and we're going to go from there. But as far as Let's Be Real as a whole, of course, we got our Starship Let's Be Real podcast every Saturday. So make sure y'all check us out there. And a couple podcasts, of course, we got Ryan Harris with the Jump Pass. We got the Jeans Report, Darren Jeans, one of the funniest podcasters you probably ever listen to, in all honesty. So y'all make sure y'all check him out. And of course, we got Gaming with Trevor, LBR Gaming. So we just got a bunch of different things. And of course, I'm going to do more now that I got free time for the rest of the summer, different ways to bring music back into the network. So it's, hip hop and basketball are literally one and one. And I think we've done a great job of combining both. And I think we're going to continuously do that.
All right, that's what's up. So C-Hen suggested another basketball movie, actually a documentary that thanks P Shark. Benji, I think, was the name of that documentary about the kids from Chicago there. So if there's another, basketball related movie or doc you want to check out, that's certainly one. If you haven't seen it, to go check that out. So appreciate P Shark and C-Hen and everybody else that was in the YouTube live chats. Shout out to everybody watching us on Facebook, on Twitter, YouTube live and Twitch and IG live and all that good stuff. Continue to follow us on the gram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Barbershop SPOR2. Like I said before, hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Hit the like button on the Facebook page. If you got questions, comments about the show, hit us up through email at barbershopsportstalk1@gmail.com. And then we got a merch store. So we got hats and t-shirts for the summer coming up. So if you guys are watching this and there's a link inside the description of the show, click the link. We got some good stuff out there. Hopefully we'll add some more stuff to it as the summer rolls along. And if you're listening on these audio outlets, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, drop a review. Let us know what you think about the show. It goes a long way to what we do here. And again, thanks to the three homies here, Savage, Tev, and Sheedy. This was real dope, folks. Continue to do your thing, man. And definitely looking forward to what you guys got coming up. And, that's it for the show, folks. Love, peace, and happiness to everybody out there. And as always, mind your damn business and drink some water.
Oh, yeah, we got him. Trey Fraser and Maestro Styles, you know we got one. Right back like we left something. We don't duck smoke, we want all of it. So line them up, Trey sharp with the blade, you know we sizing it up. I'm quick to catch the fade, you know Styles making the cut. Cause we coming out clean every time that we showing up.
It's gonna be called The Barbershop.